Good morning. We're going to have to be out of here by about 10 o'clock. We have another group coming in, so we want to hurry up and get this thing going, not waste too much time. All of you that are seated, just make sure that you do sign in. We have certificates that we want to send out so you can get credit for attending the session. Welcome. This is the first session of many for the Developer Consultant Process Training. My name is Mike Domenech. I'm the Program Manager for the Infrastructure Plan Review Center. I probably know most of you, and most of you probably don't want to know me. But at any rate, we're going to have two speakers today. And right after each session, after each speaker is concluded, we have a Q&A session, and I just want to let everybody know that if there is a question that is posed that we cannot answer here and now, we will seek an answer. We'll put it on hold. We'll seek an answer. We'll get that answer, and then we'll post it online and let everybody know where that is located. If it's important enough to ask, we want to make sure that it's important enough for us to attain an answer for you. We're also being videoed, and that video will be online also, and you will be receiving a link as to where to find it for future reference. You may want to use it for training or for just as a refresher. I do have want to take a moment to give thanks to a few folks that have made this possible, have worked with me. One of those individuals is Jean Alexander with Shield Engineering Group. Jean, are you here? I guess she's not. Well, thank you, Shield. I appreciate that. The next individual is Mr. Jace Motherall with Pacheco Coke. Could you stand up, Jace? There he is. Thanks, fella. Appreciate your help. And the other individual that's been helpful in getting this kicked off is Mr. Vic Tornero, our very own PM from the IPRC. He will be speaking momentarily. And also a very special shout out to the ACEC, the American Council of Engineering Companies. They've been very supportive in this effort. They've also been instrumental in getting the word out. One more person that I also want to acknowledge is to let you know that I have a new boss now. He's been with us for about just under a month. That gentleman right there standing, that is Mr. Tyson Thompson. He's the Senior Capital Projects Officer. Quite a mouthful. It is. And with that said, let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. Like I said, we have another group coming in at 10 o'clock, and we got to be out of here. The first individual that's going to speak is the development coordinator with the IPRC, and that is Mr. Dennis Salas.
Good morning. The first part of the presentation, I want to focus in on the administrative side of the Infrastructure Plan Review Center, the IPRC, specifically on processing a submittal package in and out to construction. The submittal package consists of the construction plan set and the contract documents. The IPRC is tasked with processing the contents in, dispersing the information to city staff members, and then returning the city's feedback back to the consultant. The IPRC from the beginning made the decision to use a document-controlled review system. Instructional documents are used to communicate important procedural information at different exchange points throughout the process. We use approximately 14 documents from the initial contact by the consultant to the delivery of the plans and contract documents to the construction office. Our method is to provide the consultant with all the information necessary to get a submittal package through the IPRC. The first document that we use is the project information form. On this document, we capture the fundamental information that's needed to set the project up to be even considered for review. Some of the information, unfortunately, don't have a clear view of it, but it basically asks for the project name, the project name that will eventually appear on the cover sheet. We need the final plat name and the final plat number. This number is a FP or an FS number. The consultant will obtain this final plat number when the final plat is submitted to the plat desk for final review. Additionally, we require the water and/or sewer study number. This number needs to be in place for all projects that require a study. If the project does not require a study, there is still a number to be obtained from the water department. Moving on down, it discusses the preliminary ISWIM. It provides information for obtaining the information from the Stormwater Development Services Group. This particular document is also required to be submitted with this project information form. So the two forms that we require to be submitted to get the project into the docket for review is a fully executed project information form and a preliminary ISWIM clearance letter or document. This document also includes information on determining if your project requires streetlights, and we provide the contact information. The bottom part of the form is where we collect the consultant's contact information. This part down here where we list the consultant is to list their project managers. The names listed on this form will be the individuals that will have access to the Buzzsaw project folder. Once the communication has been made with the IPRC by the consultant wanting to submit for review, we issue the pre-submittal folder notice. This document is letting the consultant know that their pre-submittal folder has been created, the deadline for uploading the required information, and next we include a link using Autodesk Buzzsaw Electronic Review. This link will take you to information describing Autodesk Buzzsaw and how to set up our required DWF drawings and files. The next paragraph, we have a link to our detailed checklist. The city provides detailed checklists for each component of a construction plan set, such as paving, water, sewer, storm drain, street lights. We provide this information and the associated detailed information with these components so the consultant can better prepare the plan set. And down below, further down, we have the upload following information. We require that all the executed detailed checklists submitted in one PDF and one DWF file of the entire plan set. Further down, we also provide a link to the project folder. The consultant will then upload the project and the detailed checklist. At that time, we will review the project for component compliance and discuss the DWF file. Let me back up here. When the project is submitted, we will review the plan set for component requirements and the setup of the DWF file and the DWF drawings. It will let the consultant know that the project folder has been accepted, when the review comments will be available, date, time, and place of the pre-submittal conference, and what to bring to the pre-submittal conference. And let me back up first to a prior slide. Once we are contacted by the consultant, we will issue the pre-submittal folder notice. And it's telling the consultant that the folder has been created, the deadline for uploading, again, using the Autodesk, the detailed checklist, and so on. And then we issue the consultant's pre-sub notice again. The project folder has been accepted. When the review comments will be available, the date, time, and place of the conference, and what to bring. At that time, the consultant will go back, prepare their information in preparation for the pre-submittal conference. When the project folder is first set up, we put a document into the folder, the same folder, that the consultant will find the pre-submittal comments. The purpose of it is when the consultant goes to review these important comments, they will see this document in the folder. This folder discusses what is necessary to prepare for the official first review. It lets the consultant know that the first review is a 14-day review. The project will be reviewed and comments will be provided to the consultant within 14 days. It also discusses the 3 entry requirements. The first being the final ISWIM. The final ISWIM needs to be accepted for review by the Stormwater Development Services at least 2 weeks prior to submitting for the first review. The second, the CFA application has to be submitted to the CFA office. The third is the payment of the IPRC plan review fee. At the conclusion of the pre-submittal conference, the consultant will receive a cost amount for the plan review fee. This document also explains the 2 methods of submitting for the first review. The first is an electronic review where it will be reviewed in Buzzsaw. And secondly, your traditional paper copy submittal. When the consultant is ready to submit for the first review, a document will be sent, the first review project folder. It's letting the consultant know that the project folder has been created, a link to the project folder, items to be uploaded, and the deadline for uploading. In the first paragraph, there's a link. Respond to the city review comments. This link will take the consultant to a document that will explain how to locate the comments in the Buzzsaw folder. It will also discuss the method in terms of how to respond to the city comments. We also provide a link to the project folder, and halfway down it begins to discuss what is expected with the first review submittal. At the first review submittal, we require a revised DWF file reflecting the changes per the red comments that was received during the pre-submittal conference. The consultant would also submit comment response to each and every comment that they've received in the pre-submittal conference. Also, a draft copy of the contract document book is required, and next to that you probably can't see very well, but we provide a link to a go-by contract document book. At this time, the contract document book is not required to be executed. We just need a draft copy, empty, clear sheets, so we can at least determine that the right components of the contract book is included. It discusses the CFA exhibits and the geotechnical report and the vicinity map. So the first review. The first review is a 14-day calendar review. On the 14th day, the comments will be made available to the consultant. At that time, the PM will issue the first review return transmittal. At this point, I want to recap the links that I've discussed thus far. First, the using Autodesk electronic review. Again, this describes the electronic review in Buzzsaw. It also discusses the DWF file and drawing setup. The second, the detailed checklist. Again, we're providing information that the consultant should use to include in the construction plan set, component-wise. We provide links to the folder, instructions on how to access staff comments, how to respond to city comments, how to title review files, and the material to upload. So back to our concept of a document control system. These are the documents that we're providing to the consultant to use to comply with submittal instructions. After the first review by city staff is completed, the project manager will issue the first review return. It's alerting the consultant that the DWF file is ready, where the file is located, another link to access to city comments, and a link to the first review respond to city comments. This link, these instructions are slightly different from the first link that we provided in responding to the city review comments. The lower part are the items to be uploaded. And the bold prefix, if you could see on the screen, it's the term rev, prefix rev. The point of this naming convention is each time after the first submittal, a plan set is submitted back to the city, we require that the prefix rev is located in front of the project name. The first compliance check or the signature submittal, the file should have Rev1 in front of the project name. If the project goes back for additional review, the next submittal should have the prefix Rev2 in front, and so on. The previous transmittal was the first review return. The next one is the first review non-compliance. If this transmittal is issued, this means that the project has serious design issues to be worked out, and it's preventing the project from moving on to the compliance stage. If this transmittal is issued, the project will be required to start over the 14-day review. The next slide, signature non-compliance. After the first review is completed, the consultant will revise the plan set and resubmit using the Rev1 prefix. The project manager will review the plan set, comparing to the comments sent back at the first review return, and if the consultant has not complied with all the comments, or there are still outstanding issues to be worked out, the project manager will issue the signature non-compliance, meaning that there's more work to be done, take it back, get it revised, and resubmit. This transmittal is probably the only one that will be used multiple times. It will be used again and again until all issues have been worked out with the plan set. When the compliance comes in, PM will make the review, and if the project is ready to move on, the project manager will issue the review complete transmittal. It's alerting the consultant that the review has been completed and to deliver the Mylar cover sheet to the IPRC for signatures. When the cover sheet has been signed, the consultant will be notified to pick up the cover sheet and start collecting information that we term the electronic information. The electronic information is an electronic copy of all executed plans and documents. What we require with the electronic information is one PDF of the entire plan set with signatures. We require a DWF of the plan set without signatures. The DWF file will be used by city staff for as-built purposes, so it will be modified. It is not a set of plans that we want to have the signatures on the cover sheet. We also require a PDF of the fully executed contract document book, a separate copy of the bid proposal, PDF of the executed permits and agreements, and a PDF of the draft copies of the easements, if they're not executed yet, or otherwise upload the executed copies. We also require a City of Fort Worth developer project proposal tool. This tool here is where we want to capture bid item costs to store for future purposes. Once the electronic information has been submitted and accepted, the project manager will contact Paul Chamberlain in our office, where he will start to look into all the financial aspects associated with this project. Once Paul determines that all the financials are in order, he will issue the submit construction package to transmittal. With this, we're directing the consultant to bring in the distribution package, which includes 15 plan sets, 6 fully executed contract documents and specification book. And I need to note here that a minimum of 3 of the documents need to have the original signatures and all executed copies of the easements, agreements, and permits. Upon delivering this distribution package to the IPRC, it is required that the consultant submit the final ISWIM approval form. This will indicate to the IPRC that all things ISWIM has been satisfied. And from there, we can go into any questions anybody may have. Are there any questions?
On page 16, I didn't quite understand the last item on the slide. The
16.
slides, yes, please.
The electronic information?
Maybe it was after? Yes, that one. The executed, no. The slide before, sorry.
The fully executed,
No, that's not it.
Finalized one?
I think it was fully executed City of Fort Worth tool. That's what it said, but
Okay,
that's not on
electronic.
this slide.
the City of Fort Worth Developer Project Proposal Tool. This basically mirrors the bid proposal of the plan set. The purpose of it is for the city to collect these different unit prices to be filed, cataloged, and to be used in the future pretty much for setting up internal city projects. That's my understanding. Any other questions? I would like to take a quick poll. We're in a position to changing over our system. The question is, DWF files or PDF files? And this poll here will have no bearing on the decision that the city will take. It's just for my own purpose. For the users of electronic reviewing files, who would prefer using DWF files instead of PDF files? If I could see a show of hands for the preference of DWF files. One person. How about the use of PDF files? It appears the city made the right decision. Okay. Are there any other questions? Well, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity, for presenting this information. And I will now turn it over to Mr. Vic Tornero.
Everybody hear me? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Salas. Once again, my name is Vic Tornero. I'm a senior professional engineer in the Transportation Public Works Department, IPRC division. I'll be covering the technical requirements for IPRC today. Topics of discussion are going to be the project manual, construction plans, pavement design, TPW utility construction policy, and the CFA exhibits. First topic I'm going to be discussing is the project manual, DAP version, which is also referred to as the contract documents. I've given you an example of what the project manual cover page should look like once you have the file numbers and project numbers assigned. Here's some information related to the project manual. This should cover about 95% of the projects submitted to IPRC. Before consultants begin assembling the project manual, they should review the project manual assembly guide. The project manual assembly guide will explain when to use CFW, DAP, developer awarded projects, EJCDC, or even AIA documents. The project manual documents are located in Buzzsaw at the provided path below. On this slide, I'll list the required documents for developer-led projects and for developer-led projects with city cost participation. Please note, consultants shall not modify any document other than filling in the designated blanks or removing the text in blue. The bid proposal is one of the requirements in the project manual. As you can see, there are two examples of a standard bid proposal pay items listed on the example. Standard CFW bid item descriptions were created to reduce the number of variations of pay items submitted over the years. Bid items provided in the proposal section are used to update the CFA unit prices. If consultants are unaware of how to pay for an improvement or question what the bid item includes, please refer back to the specification and it will provide direction on how to pay for that improvement. Standard bid item lists and specifications are located in Buzzsaw at the provided paths below. On this slide, I'd like to point out to the audience that the bid proposal summary has been revised to include the bidder information and signature block. All new projects submitted to IPRC need to include the revised bid proposal summary sheet. Another document in the project manual is a pre-qualification statement document. The IPRC only requires consultants to list the work that is pre-qualified for the major work types. Please refer back to the bidder's pre-qualification application for all work types. Consultants must list all contractors and subcontractors involved on the project. Make sure all contractor and subcontractor pre-qualifications are up to date. If the contractor pre-qualifications are not up to date, the contractors will not be allowed to move forward. Pre-qualified contractor lists are located in Buzzsaw at the provided path below. Next topic I'm going to be discussing is what IPRC defines as a 100% construction plan set. The IPRC defines a 100% construction plan set as having all the required components in a plan for review. Basic required components in a construction set of plans is cover page, final plat, general notes, water, sanitary sewer, so on and so forth, and construction details, whichever is applicable for the project. Please only include public improvements. However, if there are private utilities that are crossing public infrastructure, those items need to be shown. Construction plans submitted should reflect items checked in the detailed checklists. The detailed checklists are located in Buzzsaw at the provided path below. The next set of slides are going to be examples of each component in a set of plans. First off, the cover sheet. We are no longer using the DOE number. Please make sure you have your preliminary PE information shown. The PE has to be registered in the state of Texas. If not registered in the state of Texas, plans will not be accepted for review. Also, your Texas firm number will need to be required on the cover page. The developer cover page template is located in Buzzsaw at the provided path below. The final plat. A final plat can be either an FP or FS. Those of you who are aware, FP stands for final plat, FS stands for short plat. Planning and Development will sign the final plat number. When plans are submitted to IPRC, the plan set shall have a final plat number shown on the plat. Handwritten numbers will not be allowed on the plats. General notes. Make sure you include all the divisions applicable to the project. Make sure you include your correct IPRC project manager contact information. Please note that the Water Department is currently updating their water and sanitary sewer notes. Notes are located in Buzzsaw at the provided path below. The water layout. Here's an example of the water layout. Please use 1 inch equal to 100 scale for the layout. Make sure your water mains are located on the north or east side of the parkway, 5 feet off the property line. Provide any curved data. Please differentiate between pressure plane boundaries and water lines. Also include the insertion and removal of cleaning pigs and cleaning Ys for each line that you are constructing. Provide water center line stationing and show existing and proposed easements. Here's a typical example of a water plan and profile. Use 1 inch equal to 40 for a horizontal scale, 1 inch equal to 4 for a vertical scale. Water lines 12 inches and greater require a plan and profile. This needs to be on one sheet. This will be addressed in the upcoming Water Department manual update. Please provide a construction sequence when water lines need to be lowered due to conflicts. Show existing and proposed surface, grades, and labels. And please show all top-of-pipe elevations in your profile. No flow lines, please. Just like the water layout, the sewer layout requires 1 inch equal to 100 scale. Sewer mains are to be located in the south or one quarter point, west quarter point of the street. Make sure your manholes are meeting maximum spacing requirements. Provide any curved data. Minimum radius and manhole spacing needs to comply with TCEQ Chapter 217 requirements. Provide sewer centerline stationing and show existing and proposed easements. Sewer plan and profile, same thing as the water. Please show 1 inch equal to 40, 1 inch equal to 4. The plan and profile need to be on one sheet. And let me explain a little bit on this. The reason we're asking to have the sewer plan and profile on one sheet is because when you guys update plans, there are items that are missed, such as crossings that aren't reflected, and then that means we have to go back to additional reviews. So this is also going to be updated in the upcoming Water Department manual update. Sewer grades need to meet minimum max grades for all pipes. Water and sewer crossings need to comply with TCEQ Chapter 217 requirements. Here's another topic. Show all parallel storm drains. The reason we're asking to show all parallel storm drains is to ensure that there are not any conflicts with the sewer services and the storm drain. Provide pipe capacities for 10 inches and above in MGD. Here's a typical example of a water detail sheet. For multiple water line lowerings, provide a table. Do not use your own detail. Our detail specifies the specifications on each item, For water mains 16-inch and greater, make sure you pay attention to the minimum burial depths noted on the details for valves and air releases. Once again, the details are located in Buzzsaw at the provided paths below. Here's a typical example of a waterline lowering table. As you can see, we have multiple waterline lowerings. Each crossing has its own top of pipe elevations corresponding to the detail that we have on Buzzsaw. The sewer details. Make sure you include the appropriate manhole assembly lid detail, as there are multiple ones for different scenarios. Be mindful that minimum depth allowed on drop manholes is 2 feet. Hydraulic slides will be required when this cannot be achieved. Please refer back to the detail for any specifics. Here's a typical example of an erosion control plan. Provide the standard general erosion control detail note. Provide all applicable erosion and sediment control measures. One thing we want you to do is clearly delineate the total area of disturbance in acres. Show all existing / proposed storm drain infrastructure. Here's a typical example of a erosion control detail sheet. Grading plan. Show existing and proposed contours. Show finished pad elevations. Show all direction of flow arrows for interior lots and streets. Make sure you show all retaining walls and provide all retaining wall details. Additional notes may be required when a development is adjacent to a future dedicated park. Drainage map. Show the drainage area designations, provides drainage area calculations, show side and immediate adjoining property contours, maximum 2-foot intervals, show drainage flow arrows and breakpoints in the streets. Hydraulic tables. This is one item that we usually have issues with because we get variations of hydraulic tables submitted. Use these specific tables. The use of these specific tables is required to help ensure reviews are consistent and efficient as possible. The Stormwater ISWIM manual is located in Buzzsaw at the provided path. Here's a typical example of a storm drain plan and profile. Same thing as the water and sewer. Use a 1 inch equal to 40 scale, 1 inch equal to 4 vertical scale. Provide any curve data. Place a storm drain in the opposite quarter point of the street of the sewer. The reason we're asking for this is to make sure that there's no conflicts between the manholes, between the sewer and the storm drain. Doesn't leave much separation for crews to do any maintenance work on any lines when they have to be repaired. Show the HDL and 100-year water surface elevation where outfalls occur. Show all utility crossings. And once again, show all existing / proposed easements. Paving plan and profile. Provide horizontal and vertical provide horizontal and vertical curve data when applicable. Please show elbow and cul-de-sac geometrics, including cross sections for elbows. Hatch and label all fill areas. Spec 114 is no longer used in the city of Fort Worth, so make sure you're using the updated specification. Street grades need to meet min and max grades for all street classifications. And one item to be pointed out is to make sure you do mention your existing and proposed streets. We've come across some situations where we've had various cross sections that don't match up with the existing pavement. Pavement details. Parabolic sections are not allowed for new streets. The details shall reflect the geotechnical report and the pavement design manual for pavement thickness, reinforcement, etc. Drainage details. Here's a typical drainage detail layout sheet. Please note TxDOT details will be required when applicable. Show your wing walls, head walls, so on and so forth. Street plan, use 1 inch equal to 80 scale. Show existing / proposed street lights, conduit runs, ground boxes, etc. Make sure the street lights are located on the opposite side of the water line. Provide conduit tables and quantity takeoff tables, please. Here's a typical street light detail sheet. Traffic control. Traffic control plans can be either site-specific or general traffic control details can be utilized. For those of you who are unaware, we are requesting a key map. This is mainly required on residential developments. The intent of the key map is to keep track of which phases are dependent on each other on other phases for infrastructure. In addition, this provides information to the reviewers on what phases have been constructed. Basic requirements are name of project, CPN, water sewer project numbers, and file numbers. Okay, now moving on to the next topic is pavement design. There are 2 types of pavement design: flexible pavement, which is asphalt, and the second is rigid pavement, which is concrete. Please note that while the design manual mentions flexible pavement design, it is only provided for reference. All new streets are to be designed and built as Portland cement concrete pavement. Pavement design manual is broken down into 6 sections. Section 1 is the introduction. Section 2 is the geotechnical parameters. Section 3 is the pavement design input values. Section 4 is the reinforcing steel dowels and joints. Section 5 is the summary. And Section 6 is the references. Pavement design manual is located in Buzzsaw at the provided path below. Street classifications. For the current 2016 Master Thoroughfare Plan, MTP, the street classifications are as follows. Local streets are limited local, standard local. Collector streets are standard 2-way left turn lanes. Standard undivided. One thing I want to point out is that a residential street can be considered a collector street when the daily traffic volumes exceed 2,500 vehicles. So please be mindful of that. We also have industrial sections, thoroughfares, and the current MTP is located at the provided link below. Geotechnical report. Geotechnical engineer / consultant shall use the pavement design manual dated January 29, 2015, with the revised date of December 14, 2015. Geotechnical reports need to meet minimum pavement design manual requirements based on street classification. Reports are required at the first review to the city when public streets, public access easements are to be built. You'll need to include the WinPass printout report with the report. If a City of Fort Worth project manager deems the geotechnical report insufficient, a revised report / addendum will be required. Please note that the City of Fort Worth does not provide traffic counts. Traffic counts should be provided through a traffic impact analysis to determine the annual easels. Here are 2 examples. The first one is the cover page for the pavement design manual, and the second exhibit is the WinPass report from the pavement design manual. Street cross sections. City of Fort Worth only allows rooftop cross sections. Once again, parabolic cross sections are no longer allowed. Consultants need to verify existing pavement cross sections on previous development phases to determine what was constructed. If a parabolic cross section was constructed, you will need to provide a transition between the rooftop and parabolic cross section. Based on a previous experience, we recommend a 50-foot transition. Paving construction details. I'm not going to go through each paving detail, but these are the standard details that need to be shown on the paving detail. Please note that the machine-laid concrete shall be Class P 3600 PSI, and hand-laid concrete shall be Class H 4500 PSI. Please refer back to specification 321313 for concrete paving for any further information. Here's always an interesting topic is the TPW utility construction policy. This policy has been in place since March 14th, 2001. Please note that the City of Fort Worth is looking at updating this policy, and we will let you know when the policy has been finalized. New pavement requirements. If a utility company desires to cut the street within the first 2 years of the construction or reconstruction, the utility company must reconstruct the entire street curb to curb at its own expense. So questions come out as why we tell you guys not to cut the street in the first 2 years. If you guys cut the street in the first 2 years, you're repaving the entire street. So that's why we tell you guys to make sure you have all your services in at that time. I've also listed the pavement surface restoration requirements for concrete pavement and asphalt. TPW utility construction policy is located in Buzzsaw at the provided path below. Here's an example of the pavement, asphalt pavement repair per the TPW utility construction policy guideline. And I've also provided the example of the concrete pavement repair per the TPW utility construction policy. Finally, moving on to the CFA exhibits. Basic concept for the CFA exhibits. After several discussions between city staff, consultants, and developers, it was agreed that the CFA exhibits would be a basic stick figure exhibit, and any further design questions would be answered by referring back to the construction plans. CFA exhibits still require project information, legend, scales, and line work. Additional items such as pressure plane boundaries, pipe abandonment removal, various pavement widths and thicknesses, not typically depicted on example CFA exhibits, may be required when applicable. Previously, CFA exhibits required that you show all appurtenances shown, such as existing / proposed, a little wordy right here, gate valves, fire hydrants, manholes. Now they do not. Per the standard community facilities agreement, the standard exhibits are as follows: location map, exhibit A, water improvements, exhibit A1, sewer improvements, exhibit B, paving improvements, exhibit B1, storm drain, exhibit C1, streetlights, and sign improvements. Use these standard designations for each exhibit submitted to IPRC for review. Here's an example of a location map. Please provide the vicinity map, include the city project number and MAPSCO number. Here's an example of a water exhibit. Provide the legend and scale, show existing / proposed lines, make sure you label pipe sizes greater than 8 inches. Once again, you're no longer required to show the existing and proposed valves, fire hydrants. Please note, for future infrastructure that you are connecting to that is not constructed as of yet, provide a label stating not existing infrastructure, provide the development phase name, city project number on the exhibit. And the remaining slides are going to reflect the same information on the water exhibit, so I'm just going to flip through them real quick. Here's an example of a sewer improvement. Here's an example of the paving improvement. Storm drain. One thing I want to mention to you on this exhibit is we need to have the street signs and street lights on one exhibit per the CFA policy. So make sure that you have that document correct. Any questions? That was a lot of information to get through, so.
You're good. Question, so with the 2 years on the pavement, does that include making curb cuts? Mainly for the purpose of driveways?
On that application, I don't think that would be the scenario. I mean, of course, you're gonna have home builders coming in and making improvements, so they are gonna have to cut the curb, but it's any cuts in the actual pavement section, so the curb should be okay.
So connections to the street are okay, it's just any significant
Right,
Changes
and
to
the
it.
actual payment that was laid.
Yeah, just to verify that, that's 2 to 10 years we can't touch the street. Did you say it was going to be changing?
Let me get back there real quick. Okay, so for 2 to 10 years, you can cut the pavement, but you're gonna have certain requirements on the asphalt and the concrete pavement. You'll have to replace full panel. You'll have to replace the full panel as indicated on the criteria outlined below. And then what was the other part of your question?
I didn't know if that was just a 2 years or it's going to be up to 10 years. Like field operations, if they're having to install a tap, they're not going to be able to touch it for 10 years?
It applies to any person that's touching the street, whether it's city crews or anybody else. Policy is consistent all the way through the city.
So, does that mean to put in a water service on a road that's less than 10 years old, you'd have to replace the entire panel, not just the trench?
And right now, that's what they're discussing in the updated the utility policy. They're looking at those different scenarios as far as what they're gonna be updating and what's gonna be required if you have to install a service and a resurfaced street.
The entire panel, got it.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Well, we thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed our presentation. And we look forward to seeing you guys in the next presentation next month, so. Sorry?
I got the notification for this.